Through the earmark process, we were able to force reluctant administrations of both parties to do what was needed to clean up the site and to screen the people who had worked there for cancer. These screenings saved lives, and they would not have happened if Congress had not directed the funds to pay for them. Another success story is the Bluegrass Army Depot, which houses some of the deadliest materials and chemical weapons on Earth. As a nation, we had decided that we would not use the kind of weapons that were stored at this site. And yet the federal government was slow to follow through on safely dismantling and removing them, even after we'd signed an international treaty that required it. But thanks to congressional appropriations, we're on the way to destroying the chemical weapons at the site safely and thus protect the community that surrounds it. Administrations of both parties have failed to see the full merit in either of these projects, which is one of the reasons why I have been reluctant to cede responsibility for continuing the good work that is being done on them and on others to the executive branch. So I'm not wild about turning over more spending authority to the executive branch, but I've come to share the view of most Americans that our nation is at a crossroads, that we will not be able to secure the kind of future we want for our children and grandchildren unless we act and act quickly, and that the only way we will be able to turn the corner and save our future is if elected leaders like me make the kinds of difficult decisions voters are clearly asking us to make. Republicans in and out of Washington have argued strenuously for 2 years that spending and debt are at crisis levels, and we've demonstrated our seriousness about cutting spending and reining in government. For example, every Republican on the Senate Appropriations Committee voted against every appropriations bill in committee this year because they simply cost too much. Most included funding for projects in our home states. We voted against them anyway. Banning earmarks is another small but important symbolic step that we can take to show that we're serious, another step on the way to serious and sustained cuts in spending and to debt. Earlier this month, voters across the country said they are counting on Republicans to make tough decisions. They gave us a second chance. With this decision, I'm telling them that they were right to put their trust in us. It's my fervent hope that it will help demonstrate to the American people in some way just how serious Republicans are about not letting them down. Republican leaders in the House and Senate are now united on this issue, united in hearing what the voters have been telling us for 2 years and acting on it. This is no small thing. Old habits aren't easy to break, but sometimes they must be. And now is such a time. With a $14 trillion debt and an administration that talks about cost cutting but then sends over a budget that triples the national debt in 10 years and creates a massive new entitlement program, it's time for some of us in Washington to show that in every way possible that we mean what we say about spending. With Republican leaders in Congress united, the attention now turns to the President. We have said we are willing to give up discretion. Now we'll see how he handles spending decisions. And if the President ends up with total discretion over spending, we will see even more clearly where his priorities lie. We already saw the administration's priorities in the stimulus bill that's become synonymous with wasteful spending that borrowed nearly $1 trillion for administrative earmarks like turtle tunnels, a sidewalk that led to a ditch, and research on voter perceptions of the bill.